week 3 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few pitchers I look to buy and trade for this week. The first guy, Hunter Green of the Cincinnati Reds. Green, very impressive top prospect in the Red system, and we've seen him so far a few times this season. This guy throws heat. He leads the league in most pitches at 100 miles out plus, and obviously that's not always a great thing here, but if he could just get control and spot that ball, this guy could be unhittable. So on the season here for Green so far, 13 2/3, 1-2 record, 13 hits given up, 8 earned runs, 6 walks, 16 strikeouts, a 5.27 ERA, and a 1.39 whip on the season. So right now, Green, he's actually been dropped in 9% of fantasy leagues, but still owned in 60%. So if he's on your waiver wire, you definitely go out there and get him, because this guy's got electric stuff. He's too good not to just find his way as the season goes on. It might be first month jitters here for Green. April 10th at Atlanta, 5 innings, got the win, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks. April 16th at the Dodgers, 5 1/3, got the loss, 5 hits, 2 runs, 6 Ks. And then April 22nd versus the Cardinals, 3 1/3, got the loss, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 3 Ks. So right now, so far, the walks haven't really been that bad. 6 in his first 3 outings here, but the 4 in his last outing versus St. Louis. So Green's next outing's tomorrow at Colorado, which obviously is a tough ballpark to pitch at, but this guy's got electric stuff. He's just got to get it over the plate better and hit his location. And once that happens, this guy could be a top 10 to 15 pitcher this season here in fantasy baseball. He throws way too hard. I know a lot of guys are just throwers, but if he could get that breaking ball, secondary pitch going to go with that 99, 100 mile per hour pitch, he's going to be a guy that could be unhittable and one of the top starters in this league in the next few seasons. So right now, while he's struggling and while he's been dropped surprisingly in 9% of leagues, you either go out there and trade for him or go out there and pick him up where he's probably dropped in 8 and 10-team fantasy leagues. The next guy, Zach Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies. So Zach Wheeler last season finishing second in the Cy Young race here, losing to Corbin Burns. But so far this season, he's definitely not 100% is Wheeler. You could see it. The velocity's down, the location's down. And last season, he did go to a place where he never went before with all those innings under his belt. A career high 213 innings, and that definitely could have took a toll on Zach Wheeler. So far this season, 12 2/3, 0-3 record, 12 earned runs, 17 hits, 4 walks, 11 Ks, and abysmal 8.53 ERA and a 1.66 whip. So right here, he's got to get things going as Wheeler. Today, he's got to start versus the Rockies in Citizen Bank Ballpark. And right here, this Philly team, they're starting to get things going. This offense is starting to explode, and they got tons of great hitters on this team that could carry that team for a long time. So we'll see what Wheeler does today. But even if he goes out there and pitches good, the first 3 out of 4 starts have been bad for him. April 12th versus the Mets, 4 2/3, got the loss, 2 hits, an earned run, a walk, 3 Ks. April 17th in Miami, got the loss in that one, 3 innings, 8 hits, 7 runs, 3 walks, 3 Ks. And then April 23rd, a little bit better versus Milwaukee, but 5 innings, got the loss still, 7 hits, 4 runs, 5 Ks. So Wheeler, he's got too much talent. He's got to hit his spots, and I know he's definitely fatigued from last season and not 100% coming off the injury as well, but he definitely could change that here today versus the Rockies. But still, I would go out there and try to make a deal for him, because you don't have to give up much, I would think, with the struggle so far this season. The next guy, Charlie Morton of the Atlanta Braves. So Charlie Morton last season, it was a great year for him with the Braves, and that's why they re-signed him once again this offseason. But so far this year, 18 innings, 1-2 record, 21 hits, 14 earned runs, 11 walks, which has definitely been a problem for him, and 15 strikeouts on the year with a 7 ERA and a 1.78 whip for Charlie Morton, which is no good. Last season, this guy had 216 strikeouts in 185 2/3, and his walks are way up there compared to last season on projections. So far this season in 4 starts, April 8th versus the Reds, 5 1/3, got the win, 2 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 5 Ks. April 14th at San Diego, 5 innings, got the loss in that one, 9 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, 5 Ks. April 20th at the Dodgers, 5 1/3, got the loss, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks. And April 27th versus the Cubs, 2 1/3, 4 hits, 3 earns, 4 walks, a K. So right here, the walks have hurt him big time. 7 walks in his last two outings here for Charlie Morton. And the thing is, his last outing wasn't versus a great team in the Chicago Cubs last night, but he just couldn't get anything going, and it's definitely a red flag for Morton. But like I mentioned, he's just too good of a pitcher not to get things going. And I know it's a tough division in the NL East. You got the New York Mets, you got the Philadelphia Phillies, the Miami Marlins are surprising, and even the Nationals. They got some good hitting with Josh Bell, Nelson Cruz, and obviously the superstar Juan Soto. So right now, while Morton's struggling, I think he's going to turn things around. Like I said, I know it's a tough division, but he's too talented of a pitcher as well, like Zach Wheeler, to be struggling this much. And right now, you could get him very cheap this week here. The next pitcher is another guy in the NL East, Trevor Rogers of the Miami Marlins. So last season, Trevor Rogers, he was great for this Marlin team, and a guy with a lot of strikeouts, 157 strikeouts in only 133 innings. So far this season, though, he's been a shell of himself from last season. 11 2/3, 0-3 record, 14 hits, 9 earned runs, 7 walks, 10 Ks. But today he's got a good outing opportunity at the Washington Nationals where you could get things right here because they're pretty much an all-or-nothing type of hitting team with only the 3 big hitters I mentioned earlier with Bell, Soto, and Cruz. So the first 3 outings here for Rogers, April 10th at the San Francisco Giants, 5 innings, got the loss, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, 3 Ks. April 16th versus Philly, he got bombed in that one, 1 2/3, got the loss, 4 hits, 7 runs, 4 walks, 3 Ks. And then in his last outing in Atlanta, not horrible, 5 innings, but he still got the loss, 4 hits, no earned runs though, 2 walks and 4 Ks. So if he can build off that last start and get things going here today at Washington, maybe he could turn the corner, but still, you definitely could get him cheap as well, where he hasn't done anything so far this season to say that last season just wasn't beginner's luck or a fluke for him. So right now, I'd still have belief he could go out there and do well. This Marlin pitching staff, they're very good, and they're a team that's definitely competing in a tough division, but they're holding their own. And I know it's only about 20 games into the season, but right now I would go out there and get Rogers because he's a pretty solid lefty to add to your fantasy rotation as a back-end guy or a 4th or 5th guy you could count on. And the 5th and final pitcher I look to go out there and buy low in a trade this week is Jose Urquidy of the Houston Astros. So Urquidy, he's got off to a slow start this season. And last season, he was pretty good until he got banged up and injured. So far in the year for Urquidy, 14 2/3, 1-1 record, 18 hits, 9 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks, a 5.52 ERA, and a 1.36 whip on the season. So Urquidy, the first 3 outings for him, April 10th at the Angels, 5 innings, got the win, 4 hits, a run, 2 Ks. April 17th at Seattle, 4 innings, got the loss, 8 hits, 6 runs, a walk, 2 Ks. And April 23rd versus Toronto, not a horrible start, but nothing special. 5 2/3, no decision, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 3 Ks. So he's failed to reach a quality start this season here as Urquidy. And fantasy owners have actually dropped him in 5% of fantasy leagues. And he's got a tough matchup, no doubt about it, tomorrow at the Toronto Blue Jays. That obviously is a big slugging and hitting ball club. But right here, Urquidy, he's a talented pitcher. He's on a solid team with Houston, even though so far it hasn't been all that great for the Astros in the early going. But I think they're going to turn things around, and I still think they're the favorite over there in the AL West. So Urquidy, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to find his way this season here. And he's definitely a guy you don't have to give up much to get this week. So that's a few pitchers I look to buy and trade for here for week 3 of the fantasy baseball season.